The Hunt Palmer Show.
A magic beyond.
Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
A magic beyond anything you could ever imagine.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Sagrera Farms on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day.
You really think that's the best idea?
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio, this is Hunt Palmer.
It's quite a piece of work.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Thursday. It means we're brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Beef. Jacob Beck, Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos, working towards the weekend. Appreciate you being with us. Luke Johnson in 15 minutes. We're talking Saints defense with Luke. Joe Healey, 30 minutes from right now. Joe, of course, with SEC Extra, part of the D1 baseball team. Big weekend for a lot of teams in the Southeastern Conference. We'll talk about that with Joe. Alex Bregman is on an absolute tear. I want to mention that a little bit. And Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers, with us at 2:15. So very much looking forward to the next couple of hours. Lock us in. Let's get rolling the same way we do every day. That's our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's opening drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
It's resume time in college baseball. This dawned on me today as I was sitting at my kitchen counter, bouncing the 8-week-old in the little bouncy chair to keep him quiet as I was doing some work this morning. And I'm rolling through the RPIs and I'm rolling through all the metrics, and I'm looking at this going, I don't think there's anything I do all year that I like doing more than this. That probably makes me the biggest nerd alive. But as far as covering the sports that I cover, the time of year that we go through each and every year, and it kind of gets cyclical, whether it's fall camp or, obviously training camp for the Saints, fall camp for LSU, or it's March Madness. It's no matter what the time of year is, like there's something that we're generally talking about. And this time of year, you're generally talking about LSU's resume and where it stacks up. Hopefully, you're talking about a top 8. Sometimes you're talking about trying to get a top 16 like they were in 2022. And sometimes you're trying to get into the field like last year. In any way you slice it, I just am interested in it because there are so many moving parts. There's so much volatility. It's not like college football in this way now that we have a committee for college football, because they play once a week and then it changes and we talk about it for a week and nothing changes. It's not like college basketball where, yeah, maybe you're on the 6 line, maybe you're on the 8 line, maybe you're on the 4 line, maybe you're on the 9 line. But there's more volatility to this because there's so much value in being a top 8, and there's so much value in being 16 as opposed to 17. So no matter where you are, how much success you've had, if you're looking at this, I would suggest Missouri has no interest in this right now, South Carolina has no interest in this right now, and quite honestly, Texas has no interest in this right now. The other 13 teams have to pay attention to this. There are some that are trying to work their way on the hosting site. That's like Ole Miss, Alabama, those teams. There are some that are trying to get a top 8. That's LSU, Vanderbilt, Tennessee, Auburn, Georgia. There are teams that are trying to get in. Mississippi State is on the back end of this thing. Kentucky is on the back end of this thing. So it just, to me, it's always fascinating. And I know that when I have the sheet in front of me and I can go through it with the numbers staring me in the face, it's really easy to digest. I know that you don't have that, generally speaking, when you're listening. You're driving on I-10 or you're on the sales route or maybe you're jogging, listening via podcast, and you don't have that information right in front of you. So I try to make it as easy for those of you that are just listening as possible. And we're just going to talk about LSU and how they stack up right now. I think most of you are on the same page that we understand that in LSU's best interest to win 4 of the last 6 league games. That's kind of the starting point. But the question becomes why and how imperative is it that you win 4 of the last 6 before you get to Hoover? And so I wrote a piece up at LouisianaSports.net right now. It's called Resume Review. It's on the top of the page. You can go to it on your mobile site, go to it on your desktop. It's free. It says LSU's in a solid spot entering a tough weekend. And that is true. As Arkansas comes to the box, it is 2 things. It is a massive opportunity for LSU because Arkansas is number 4 in the RPI, and they are 2 games clear of LSU in the SEC standings. So you've got an opportunity to score massive wins against an elite team to greatly enhance your resume. It's a great opportunity in that way. It's also a daunting task because there aren't many teams that LSU can play where I would look at it and go, man, if you're not careful, you can lose all 3 of these games. And Arkansas is one of those. Like, I don't think they're going to come to the box and sweep LSU, but they can. They're that good. They embarrassed Texas last weekend. Now, that was in Fayetteville, but it was a domination for 3 days. This is a really good Arkansas team. Yesterday I did power rankings. I ranked them first in the SEC because I think their best is as good as anybody in the country. So this is a massive opportunity and a scary spot. You're towing that line if you're LSU. The point of my story on LouisianaSports.net and what I'll relay here is there are some metrics that LSU has that are very strong in their favor. There are some that I think are very neutral, just kind of treading water. And there are some weaknesses in LSU's resume to this point, and I wanted to kind of talk about that. Right now, as far as the strong metrics go, LSU is 8th in the RPI. That is strong. You want to be in the top 10, top 11 in the RPI to get that top 8 national seat. So right now, you're 8th, and you're about to play number 4 3 times. As long as you don't get swept, your RPI is not going anywhere this weekend. You win a couple, yeah, you might jump to 6 or 5. You lose 2 and win 1, you're probably right around 8 or 9. Like it's not very volatile with Arkansas in town because you're going to get strength of schedule points and you're going to get high RPI points, quadrant 1 wins. So LSU's in a strong spot from an RPI perspective. You're 15 and 9 in the SEC. That's tied for 3rd. Texas is out in front. Arkansas is right behind them. And then LSU and Georgia are right there tied at 15 and 9. So 3rd place in the nation's best conference by a mile is a very advantageous place to be in. And I think that while the committee would suggest they don't take that into account, I think it's just human nature. If you finish 3rd in the SEC, you're getting a top 8. I feel confident in saying that. So that's a strong metric for LSU right now. And then you've got 10 quadrant 1 wins. There are 8 teams in the country that have more than 10. But it's still a good number. And you've got 3 opportunities this weekend to add to that number. Unfortunately for LSU, South Carolina got annihilated by Florida last weekend in Columbia, and that knocked South Carolina out of the top 60. Road games in the top 60 give you quad 1 opportunities, and South Carolina is just outside that. So maybe South Carolina does some work against Auburn this weekend. I tend to doubt it, but you're probably not getting quad 1 opportunities in Columbia next weekend, unfortunately. But 10 quad 1 wins right now is a pretty good metric for LSU. So what are the metrics that are pretty neutral that don't really matter, that aren't going to be massively impactful at this point? Strength of schedule is not in LSU's camp. It's not really against them. They're 30th. Auburn's 2nd, Georgia's 6th, Vanderbilt's 3rd, TCU's 13th. Those are all strong metrics for potential top 8s. But there are other teams like Oregon State, who's worse than LSU, North Carolina's worse, Coastal Carolina's worse, Tennessee is worse than LSU. So LSU's going to get a boost from 30th by playing Arkansas, but you're still not going to be in the top 10, and you're not going to be in the 50s. So strength of schedule is not really a big factor for LSU. And then while I said the 10 quad 1 wins are solid, you're actually 10 and 9 against quad 1, which is just okay. It's certainly not going to hurt. 10 and 9 against quad 1 is not going to hurt you. But I'm not calling for a sweep either way this weekend. So your quad 1 record is going to be something like 11 and 11, 12 and 10, something that's pretty neutral. So while the wins are good, and that does matter, you're not like 12 and 2. You're 12 and 10. So it's kind of a wash for the metrics perspective. Now you're looking at things that may hurt LSU. Here are the things that can hurt LSU. There are 5 SEC teams with a better RPI than LSU. That can hurt. If you think that the committee may cap SEC teams, having 5 teams in front of you in the RPI, which happen to occupy the top 5 spots in the RPI, hurts. LSU's non-conference strength of schedule, terrible. 209th in the country. Only Tennessee has a worse non-conference strength of schedule in the top 20 of the RPI than LSU. Now, I think, personally, Hunt Palmer thinks that the 30 games, which is more than half of your 56, 55 in LSU's case, the 30 SEC games should carry more weight than your non-conference strength of schedule. But in any event, it's bad. So that's something to keep an eye on. The Missouri factor, which I detailed last week, if they go 0-30, they could use that as a data point in the committee room. I don't know if they will or not, but it's possible. That's bad for LSU. And lastly, Auburn is a problem for LSU because LSU obviously got swept at Auburn And Auburn's got a higher RPI and a better strength of schedule. So that's an issue. LSU's 2 games clear of Auburn in the SEC standings, but it could be a potential issue. I'll leave it with this. As we sit right here, I believe 2 teams have locked up top 8 national seeds. Texas is 19-5 in the league. They're going to win 20, 21, 22, 23 games in league play. They're a lock for a top 8. And Arkansas at this point is 17-7. Theoretically, LSU could sweep them, and then the last weekend of the year, they could lose 2 out of 3 against Tennessee. That's conceivable, where they would finish with 18 wins. I'm really not betting on that with Arkansas. I think they're that good. I'm going to call them a lock for now. I realize lock means it's over, but I think for the sake of this discussion, it's reasonable if I give you those talking points to say Arkansas and Texas are going to get top 8 national seeds. Then there's a group of 8 behind those 2. Very simply, Georgia, Auburn, Vanderbilt, LSU from the SEC. Georgia, Auburn, Vanderbilt, LSU. Then you go to the ACC for Florida State, Clemson, and North Carolina. And then you've got an independent now, no longer in the Pac-12, an independent in Oregon State. That group has really high RPIs and similar metrics. And then you've got 2 more spots on the outside. Tennessee, whose RPI is 13 behind LSU. And then you've got the Big 12 champion, whoever that's going to be. It could be West Virginia or TCU for the sake of this discussion. West Virginia's RPI is 22. That's not great, but if they win the Big 12 by a few games, they could conceivably get a top 8 because of that conference championship win. And then you got TCU, who's an RPI 14, very good, could theoretically, if they win the Big 12, get a top 8 national seed. But that list is in total 13 teams. 13 teams. So mathematically, you've got to take 8 spots from those 13 teams. That's what I've boiled this down to. And again, if this is a little bit confusing as you drive around, I understand. I'm trying to be as transparent as possible, but it's all written on LouisianaSports.net if you want to go check it out. But I think LSU needs to be in the top 8 of what looks to me to be 13 teams right now. And you hope the Big 12 champion kind of dwindles back a little bit. You hope that one of Vanderbilt, Auburn, or Georgia scuffles down the stretch. And then obviously LSU's got to win some baseball games. I would suggest LSU's in a healthy spot right now. That's what yesterday's predictions from Baseball America and D1 Baseball, where they had LSU as the number 4 national seed and the number 6 national seed, respectively. That's what it suggests, that they're in a pretty good spot. But it's tenuous. Like, you screw around this weekend and don't play very well, and you can fall out of this mix quickly. Like, if LSU gets swept this weekend against Arkansas, you're not a top 8 right now. You win 2 out of 3, you have almost jumped into the lock territory, unless you just fall on your face in Columbia. So I think as I tie that discussion all together, everyone kind of knows where LSU stands, but I also think that it helps to put a little context in it, because there are two pieces of this pie that I think are 50-50. Maybe 60-40. 60, like LSU's got to take care of its business, but the other 40% here is how everybody else does, and that is a huge variable. It's LSU's opponents for the RPI points. It's the teams LSU's competing against for the top 8 seeds. Like, everybody's very volatile, and that's what I kind of opened with. Like, they're all going to play 3 games this weekend. That's a huge swing. Violent stuff. And it's fascinating to me. And so I'm going to continue to update it weekly on LouisianaSports.net, maybe daily on a conference tournament week. But as usual, LSU controls its own destiny. You win like 5 of your last 6. You beat Arkansas 2 out of 3 and then go to Columbia and sweep them. Like, slam the door. It's over. Probably with 4 out of 6 too. 3 out of 6, you got a fight on your hands. Big fight on your hands. So we'll see how that all goes. That's your resume review, courtesy of LouisianaSports.net, right here on your Genesis opening drive. Luke Johnson talking Saints when we come back on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
These ice cubes could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar. But instead, they cradle and cool the crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Nicely done, ice cubes.
work hard every day to pursue a life you love. You put in the time, and it shows. You're forging ahead, chasing a dream, creating something better for the ones you love. You're building your own life, so why not build your own tractor? With John Deere tractors and attachments for almost any need, the Sunshine team can help you do just that. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
ED, low T, or simply seeking to optimize your health and performance? Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness offers a range of discreet services to address your specific needs. We empower men to reclaim their health and confidence. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief. Our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
Big shout out to Sean Sagrera and the folks at Sagrera Farms, premium Angus beef. Top 1% beef in the world. You can find it 35 minutes from Baton Rouge, Sagrera Farms. Always happy to tell you about them on our Thursday shows. Tell you more about them as we move forward. Let's head out to Jim's Firearms Hotline. Chat with our guy Luke Johnson of The Advocate covering the New Orleans Saints. Luke, how are we doing?
I'm doing great, man, outside of the fact that the Pope is canceled for being a Cubs fan.
The Pope is a Cubs fan. We now have Kyle Tucker and God. If anybody in the NL Central thinks they have any shot of taking down the Cubs, you have no chance.
I guess we're gonna get a good sense of just how present God is in the world right now.
We shall see. The Cubs got the Mets tonight. We'll see how we can handle things. Somebody said on Twitter's been on fire. Somebody said the God saw the Cubs give up 9 runs in the 11th inning on Tuesday and gave them the Pope a day later, which is actually true. So we'll see if that can help my beloved Cubbies. Let's talk.
I think my favorite one was Chicago now has more Popes than 4,000-yard passers.
Yeah.
So
I'll tell you this, and I did not know this until like an hour and a half ago. Pope Twitter is on fire. Everybody's firing off takes about the Pope at this point. So let's talk about the Saints to transition into in a Catholic way. I want to talk defense with you. For a long time there, we just kind of assumed, all right, the Saints have this guy and this guy and this guy. They're going to be pretty pretty damn good on defense. And then they really weren't at the end of the Dennis Allen era. And they still got a lot of those cast of characters. Is there any tread left on the tires of Cam Jordan, Tyrann Mathieu, and Demario Davis at this point?
Yeah, but I don't think that they're going to be star players, you know? Like I don't think that's fair to ask that of them at this stage in their careers. I still think Tyrann played some decent ball last year when he was at his best. You know, just as as somebody who's taking the football away, and then I think injuries caught up to him, and you know, frankly, just wasn't a very good tackler last year. Like, that was a problem. I think they addressed that by going out and getting somebody like Justin Reed, who can kind of cover up some of that stuff. You can kind of put Tyrann back in more of a playmaking role. I think he can still be a good player. Demario, I think, is still a good player in specific aspects, but he's not like the complete all-around player that he was, 4 years ago. And, you know, with Cam, I mean, we saw a little bit more out of him last year after they fired Todd Grantham. You know, I just don't think I don't think these guys are Pro Bowl players anymore, but I think they can still be useful players, especially considering what they've added around them. I think the big question is, you know, how this scheme is going to fit the personnel, and you know, whether they can make a realistic jump forward with that. I don't know. It might be next year that we're really looking at this defense being improved.
What do you put into, because you're around the locker room a good bit with these guys, how much stock do you put into the fact there's a new sheriff in town here with a new coach, a new coaching staff? It's not the same old blood. And those guys that I just mentioned are consummate professionals. Like, how important is that as you try to change things in New Orleans?
I mean, I do think that there's value to that, to having those guys around as part of a transition. I think that's really helpful. You know, when they talk in the locker room, guys listen. I mean, every one of those guys, you know, they're really, really important to the team in that regard. And when you're going through this sort of cultural transition, you know, structural transition, everything with this organization outside of the front office is in transition right now. So I think those guys in that specific role can play a big part in kind of getting this thing back on track. Like, as players on the field, maybe not, maybe not as much as they used to, but like in terms of just getting buy-in from the rest of that unit, I think that's going to be a critical part of what they do this year.
Who's the biggest building block on the defense?
Man, I don't think I have an answer for you, honestly. Like, I think Alontae Taylor has shown flashes of being a really good player, really impactful player, but I just don't know what to make of him. You know, they've just kind of like flip-flopped him throughout his entire career. I don't think he's been able to really settle in and be great at one thing. So I'm really curious to see, you know, later on this month when they line up for their mini camps and whatnot, like what Brandon Staley wants to do with him. Like, is he going to be that star position for him, right, where he's just kind of, you know, all over the field and you know, being the guy who makes plays in space? Are they going to want to like lock him in at outside corner? Like, I think it would probably be the former. I think he's probably the guy that you're looking at as okay, we can kind of build around him and his talents. But like, he's got to show he can do it like consistently. And this is a big year for him. So he's about to enter. He's entering his contract year. Yeah. So I think he's the one that I feel best about on this team. But then, you know, like, I know Chase Young's never been a 10-sack guy, but like, he's still 25.
That's
and
crazy.
Like,
it was crazy in the fall, and it's crazy now.
Yeah, and he's coming off like really his first healthy off season in a long time. Like, I think there's a chance that they get a lot out of him this year. And, you know, maybe he's just who he is. Like, and I think that's okay too. Like, he's still a productive player if he's not going to be like the Myles Garrett 15 sack a year guy. Like, maybe we kind of thought he was early in his career. But I think he has a chance to really blossom if he can stay healthy, if he's healthy throughout this offseason, he's working out and, you know, maybe put into a scheme that can really maximize his strengths.
Is there a draft pick in particular that you think could have the biggest impact on the defense?
Yeah, I think it's Quincy Riley, honestly. Okay. I really like him as a player. You he's not like their kind of typical corner. He's a little smaller than what they've gone for in the past with these Dennis Allen defenses, where they kind of have prioritized length over everything. He's long for his size, right? I think he's 5'11", but he's got long arms to go with that. But like I think he's going to be potentially pressed into a starting role, which is kind of scary because they don't really know what he is, outside of what they saw in his college film. But like out of all their picks, I think he's got the potential to play the most snaps on their defense outside of Kelvin Banks and potentially Tyler Shuck.
This is an impossible question to answer, but I want your opinion on it. Last year at this point, there was absolutely no way you would ever think towards the future because there may not be a future for Dennis Allen, for Derek Carr, for some of those guys. At this point, you got a first-year head coach and maybe a rookie quarterback. Is there anything that you think they might do personnel-wise that may take some lumps on the front end but help them down the road because they know that they're kind of pushing off the dock here? Or is that just not in the Saints' DNA at all?
You mean like in terms of like acquiring players or just
playing
like
a younger guy,
putting guys? Yeah, I mean I do think there's probably a need for that, right? Especially if the Derek Carr situation resolves and him not playing for the team this year, right? Your potential to be a contending team. I mean, with Derek Carr, it's not great, right? And without him, it's even worse. So I think in that sort of scenario, then yeah, like I think I would try to see what some of these young guys got, and see who out of this this particular draft class, out of last year's draft class, who out of those guys can really be players for you and can be guys you can build around. Like maybe somebody like Jonas Sanker it turns out to be just an absolute stud, or Danny Stutzman. Like let them go out there, take some lumps, but see what they got potential wise. And yeah, when you're looking at the way this roster is built right now, I mean, next year they're going to have some tough cap stuff to manage. Derek Carr, I think it's like $59 million next year on their cap. And that's going to be something they have to deal with regardless of what happens with him this year. But then you look at 2027, it's like all these big contracts that are on their cap that they have had to rework year after year after year and dig themselves out of this big hole. They're all gone.
Yeah.
So like they actually are lined up to be in a really, really good spot cap-wise in 2027. So if you go through a tough year this year, you can see what you got in these young guys, and you can really set yourself up to really jump off 2 seasons from now, which I think it's that if I was a Saints fan, I'd be excited about that. I'd be excited about like really ushering in a new era here. But it would go against like the way they've done business. Right. And like, I could totally see them trying to make a play for somebody like Keenan Allen, right. Who fills a need for him instead of giving somebody like Bub Means like, hey, go out there and show us what you can do. Or, another one of these veteran corners who's out there on the free agent market. Like, they are a team that just, it is in their DNA to try to do everything they can to win right now, even if like maybe the healthier long-term option is to just see what you got in the youngsters and think about the future.
We'll see. I wish they would play some of the young guys and see. That seemed to make sense to me, but again, it's just not what they generally do. What's y'all's schedule coming up? You going to see minicamp on Saturday? Is that right?
Yeah, Saturday. They actually open minicamp maybe today. I think they open rookie minicamp today, but we don't get access until Saturday. So we'll get out there. We'll get our first look at Kelvin Banks, Tyler Shuck, and the rest. And I think there's going to be some really interesting stuff out of there. Like, what position do they line Kelvin Banks up at? Last year they lined Fuaga up at left tackle in rookie minicamp. You're like, okay, well that's probably what he's going to play. I think there's some potential to get some really interesting stuff out of this weekend.
We'll talk next week. Thanks, Luke.
Yep, sounds good, buddy.
Luke Johnson with the Advocate Saints beat reporter at @ByLukeJohnson on Twitter for all your Saints coverage. Go check him out. He's with us every single Thursday. We'll step aside. Joe Healey talking SEC baseball next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
You gotta believe in a dream. Believe. You gotta believe in a dream. Believe. You gotta believe. My whole team on wildin'.
Men, age is just a number. Don't let it dictate how you feel. Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness has anti-aging services that can help you look and feel your best. Visit yourgoodwood.com and discover a renewed sense of vitality.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
These are the luckiest ice cubes in the world. They could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar. But instead, they've been called upon to cradle and cool a crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Looks like the lucky just got luckier. Dos Equis.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
When it comes to choosing energy for your family and your home, make the smart choice with natural gas. You can count on efficient and affordable natural gas to keep you comfortable and reduce your environmental impact to help protect our planet. Together, we're fueling our energy future. Atmos Energy.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
Working towards the weekend, Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Beef. Huge weekend all across the Southeastern Conference. Just 2 regular season weekends left, Arkansas and LSU. Maybe the highlight series of them all, but there are plenty that mean a lot to a lot of teams around the SEC. To break it down, go to our guy, Joe Healey, part of the D1 baseball team with SEC Extra, with us on Thursdays on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Joe, how are you?
Doing well, Hunt. frankly don't know how we got here, but yeah, 2 weeks left in the regular season. It feels like you just wake up and it's like, oh, yep, okay, we're here at the business end.
It is, and it's the most fun time of year. I was talking about at the top of the show. Let's briefly go back to last weekend before we look at a monster weekend to come. As Wes Rucker of Go Vols 24/7 eloquently put it, Mount Vitello finally blew in the series against Auburn. He gave a lot of umpires a lot of peace of his mind. His team is not playing well. They've lost, I believe, 4 or 5 series and 3 in a row at home. Are they okay, or are they in big trouble?
I think they're okay, but it is time to maybe readjust what their ceiling is, because I don't see them kind of in the same conversation as I do LSU and Arkansas and Texas, right? Like, I just don't, I may not see them in the same, they have a better record than Auburn, but right now Auburn's playing a lot better, right? So, like, I just don't necessarily see them in that elite group, however you want to group that. And it's not just that the results are not ideal. It's also just that we've had enough time now that I think it's pretty clear that, A, the team they play great when Liam Doyle's on the mound. They seem to get a lot of energy from that, not so much when everybody else is on the mound. But beyond that, the lineup is just not as scary. They don't play defense as well. Their bullpen is not as deep. Okay, Nate Snead's a nice piece, but he's kind of the only guy I in my heart of hearts, I feel like they actually trust. There's a bunch of other guys that have good stuff and have good moments, but, they wish they had 4 Nate Sneads, basically. And last year they did, and this year they don't. And so it's a bunch of little things that have contributed to it. And I think there's also an element of let's not forget about the fact that guys last year, like, even though Christian Moore didn't always, he had some antics that I think a lot of folks didn't like, but his teammates loved him, and he was clearly a glue guy for that team. Same with Blake Burke. And those were guys who had been in the program a long time. And when you look at how this roster is constructed with a lot of one-year guys, Gavin Keelan and Andrew Fisher and Liam Doyle, and I'm not saying those guys are bad guys. I'm just saying that when you lose guys who have been tent poles of your program for a long time, and all you're left with in terms of long-term tent poles is Hunter Inslee, you just don't maybe have the same team chemistry. So I think there's probably about a million things going on with the Volunteers, and this weekend against Vanderbilt got a lot more interesting because I would not have thought that to be a competitive series just 4 or 5 weeks ago.
Yeah, we'll certainly talk about it. Arkansas and Texas over the weekend. It was kind of a deal where you thought that might be coming, and then it did. What'd you take away from it?
Yeah, exactly that. Although I don't know that I would have expected Arkansas, even if you told me they swept, I wouldn't have expected it to be just that they absolutely wore out Texas all 3 days. But that's what it was. Like, Texas was never really in that series. There were a couple moments when it was close early in games, but they were just never really in it. 2 things there. One is that I honestly think it's probably one of the better things that could have happened to Texas, because no one's really asking any tough questions about Texas because it was Arkansas, a team that we all like, everyone seems to like. I think they're probably the best team in the SEC if you really made me pick. So nobody really looks sideways at Texas for it happening. And oh, by the way, I do think it is just a good wake-up call. And I think we saw that with the way Schlossnagle managed some of the stuff over the weekend where, he had situations where he was pulling guys out in the middle of games because he didn't like the effort. He didn't like what they were putting on the field. And I think that's him sending a message of, look, if you guys thought we were just going to cakewalk to an SEC title and then be the number 1 overall seed and have a chance to win a national title just because we're Texas and we're playing great, you got another thing coming. And then on the flip side for Arkansas, it gets them back on track. Like, they've been playing fine and had just been getting beat. Now they're losing 2 of 3 every weekend. They were never getting swept, but it gets them back on their feet. And it shows once again that, look, their best, I think, this is what I come down on. Their best, I think, is better than anybody else's best just because they're so well-rounded. They can do a lot of things well and don't really seem to have any obvious holes when they're playing well.
Yeah, I've said the same thing this week for sure, and we'll get to see him up close and personal starting tomorrow. I'll go to LSU and A&M, and then we'll look forward. Very competitive series, incredible effort by Anthony Ianson, and then a great swing at the end by Caden Sorrell. Did you learn more about A&M, learn more about LSU? What'd you think?
Well, I think I learned quite a bit about LSU on both ends, right? I feel like it was more instructive to me for LSU, but that doesn't necessarily mean – I don't mean that in a bad way necessarily, because I do think we have solidified at this point that Anderson and Ianson are pick your 1 and 2 elsewhere in the country, and I'm probably still taking Anderson and Ianson as a 1-2. I mean, we've seen that enough now to where I feel pretty confident in that. On the negative side, though, is I do think this whole, like, LSU doesn't hit lefties well thing, I think is real. And I think they really got exposed against an A&M team that, like, has nothing but lefties somehow. That's just kind of how they're built. So that was a particularly bad matchup, and I think we saw that. So in the big picture, I don't think a lot changed for me in terms of how I think about LSU. I think they struggled with, they continue to struggle with, but I thought on the mound to be able to do what they did against an A&M lineup that, yes, it's not the best lineup in the SEC, but what got A&M going is the fact that their lineup was getting a lot better. And this is really the first weekend in a while for A&M where, I guess except against Texas, it's been rare, I guess I should say, that a pitching staff has quieted their bats to the extent that LSU did, and I came away pretty impressed with that.
LSU will see a tough lefty tomorrow. Zach Root was awesome against Texas. What can you tell us about him?
Yeah, he's one of the more difficult pitchers in the SEC to hit from this standpoint. He has a big-time stuff, fastballs, mid. He can really reach back for high 90s if he needs it, but it's more mid-90s. But here's the tricky part. Because of that, and because he has good off-speed stuff as well, you don't want to get into two-strike counts against him because, if you're guessing with two strikes against Zach Root, you're pretty much toast. The problem is when the fastball is really going good for him, it sinks, and he gets a ton of ground balls. So your other option is to be aggressive early in the count. But if he's locating his sinker, that's just going to mean a bunch of ground balls. And that's a formula for, well, it just shows you why Zach Root is as good as he is. So that's the thing. I mean, last week he threw 8 innings in his start and did that in 99 pitches. And he struck out 11 batters. So he can still strike out dudes. The fact that he had 11 strikeouts, only threw 99 pitches in 8 innings, tells you that, yeah, he's getting strikeouts, but he's also getting a lot of outs early in counts. And that's really what makes him tough. It's kind of a damned if you do and damned if you don't.
Gage Wood is next up. I want to hear your thoughts on him in Arkansas's rotation, and then what can we expect, if anything, from Gabe Gackle and where they may use him?
Yeah, I think, my assumption is they're going to continue to piggyback those two guys together. So I think you'll see them back-to-back because Gackle's still a guy they want to use 3-4 innings at a time. In terms of Gackle's usage, it really hasn't changed a lot. It's just that he's not starting the game anymore, and I think it's taken some pressure off of him because the way Gackle's stuff works, every pitch is either a swing and miss pitch or it's a ball out of the zone. And when you're a starter, that's a tough way to live. If you don't have pitches you can land for strikes consistently, or you're able to just kind of pitch to contact. If you're not able to do those things, it's kind of tough. And so that's what we'd see with him is he'd have 3 or 4 good innings, but he'd walk some guys. His pitch count would get up. He'd start to give in to hitters because he realized that he was just walking too many guys. In the bullpen, it's like, okay, maybe I throw 3 1/3, maybe I throw 4, maybe I throw 2 2/3, but I'm just going to get my best pitch off every single pitch and trust that that's going to work. And in a relief role, it does. Gage Wood is interesting to me. I kind of keep waiting. He's been great since coming back. The velocity is fully back. I mean, he's a guy who can, tease triple digits anyway. I am waiting for someone to push him, though. Like, he really doesn't feel like he's been pushed. Like, not a ton of stressful innings since coming back, except for the first start back, which he was, really not going deep in that game. It seems like he hasn't had stressful innings. He hasn't had teams really work counts against him well. And we'll see if LSU can do that. But I am fascinated to see that because it'll give me an idea of, okay, is he a viable number 2 behind Root, or is it a situation where they're always going to have to piggyback Gackle with Root to put together a good, quote-unquote, start in a way?
We're sweating national seed here. Obviously, you want to be in the top 8, and I'm looking at the top 5 in the RPI, and they're all SEC teams. Now, 2 of those are Auburn and Vanderbilt, who LSU's got a sizable lead on as far as the conference standings. How much does LSU need to worry about an Auburn team that is 13-11 in the league, but has South Carolina this weekend starting tonight and swept LSU?
Yeah, I think that is a worry because unless South Carolina does something that none of us anticipate, I think Auburn's at bare minimum winning that series, and if I had to bet, I'm guessing they're sweeping it. So I just don't think Auburn's going anywhere, and that comparison's always going to be tough when you're talking about a sweep of Team X versus Team Y. That comparison's never going to go well for Team Y. The other thing is that one of my biggest critiques of the committee is they've done a pretty good job over the years, not necessarily queuing directly to the RPI. It still happens sometimes, not every time, but one place that they unwaveringly queue close to the RPI is when you're talking about top 8 seeds.
Yep.
And so if you're LSU, the win total matters in SEC, but what matters more is the RPI. And now the good news is you're playing Arkansas, your RPI is, even at home, your RPI is not going anywhere. So that's the good news. But of course, you're going to have to win some games there because if you lose, the RPI does maybe fall a little bit, or at a bare minimum, you just start to stack up really negatively compared to the other teams you're going to be in competition with for those top 8s.
Where are you going this weekend?
It's another home weekend for me.
Wow.
I put 2 of them together. Just
it's a homestand.
Rest up before. That's right. Yeah, a full homestand. Now, I'm still getting out and doing some doing some broadcasting for ESPN Plus. I'm going to be at ECU UTSA tomorrow night broadcasting that game. So I'm still getting out and seeing some games, but I'm going to be on the couch again and kind of trying to figure out what's what with these teams before we see them in Hoover, which of course will be here before we know it.
Yeah, you need to get some sleep over the next 2 weeks because I can't promise much of any when it comes to the week of Hoover. So do that, and we'll talk next week, Joe.
All right, see you, buddy.
Joe Healey, D1 Baseball's SEC Extra team. No better time to get involved with SEC Extra than right now because it is crunch time with 2 weeks to go in SEC play. If you're looking for a team to root for this weekend, other than LSU, South Carolina. It's going to be difficult. You can cheer for Coach Maneri. You probably may not win very much because they're 5-19 in the league, but they start tonight against Auburn. If South Carolina can find a way to win a game or two in that series on the Plains, that would help LSU greatly in trying to get a top 8 national seed. Step aside, come back, close out hour 1 next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is that website. Every car that is on the lot is online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. Every single new purchase, 10 years, 100,000-mile warranty. 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. Every new purchase, 3 years of complimentary valet maintenance. It's an experience to be a Genesis driver. And my guess is, and speaking to the folks over at Genesis and speaking to you, like most folks haven't gotten behind the wheel of Genesis. Most folks haven't gone to the dealership at Airline and Pico to see it firsthand. It's brand new, comparatively speaking, only about 2 years old. Go see them. Go get behind the wheel. See the difference in driving a Genesis. It's GenesisofBatonRouge.com. GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
ED, low T, or simply seeking to optimize your health and performance? Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness offers a range of discreet services to address your specific needs. We empower men to reclaim their health and confidence. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief. Our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
These are the luckiest ice cubes in the world. They could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar.
The Hunt Palmer Show. This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
got any steak eaters out there? I'd imagine we do. I'm certainly one. And if you are, undoubtedly you've had great steaks and not a very good steak, right? What if I could tell you you could know? You would know every single time it was going to be a great steak. That'd be something you were interested in? I'd imagine so. Sagrera Farms Premium Beef can help you out with that. It's a hidden gem right here just outside Baton Rouge. Sean Sagrera and his team just do an incredible job up there. What do I mean when I say you know it's a great steak? Well, they score these steaks based on IMF scores, intramuscular fat scores. And you're talking about select being under 4%. Choice, 4 to 8%. Prime steaks are 9% or better. Prime is 9%. He had a vet out to Sagrera Farms last week, and they did some ultrasounds. He's got cows out there that we know have 12, 14, 17, 18% IMF scores. This is some of the finest beef in the world, and it's right outside of Baton Rouge. Why wouldn't you want to stock your freezer with that? Fillets, ribeyes, strips, ground beef, flank steak, whatever the case may be, whatever your choice is. You can get the sides or the whole cow, stock your freezer, and have it ready for the summer for grilling season. It's time to get out on the grills, get out on the pits, and you can have the finest beef from Sagrera Farms right here just outside Baton Rouge. Sean's fanatical about this stuff. I love talking to him about it. You can go up there, visit the farm, talk to him, look at your beef, and then have it packed up and ready to go. Send right on home to you. Sagrera Farms, they bring you our Thursday shows each and every week. I wanted to briefly talk about this before we get out of here in hour number one. There was a story written on ESPN.com where a couple of the folks over there on the website polled anonymously and spoke anonymously to some executives around the league about other draft picks that their franchises didn't make. And so at times my skepticism kind of shows here where I'm like, you kind of just make this up, like if you're not putting a name on it. But the other part of me goes, well, maybe you get people to really speak truthfully as long as their name's not attached to it, right? So here's some of the things that some of the executives around the NFL had to say about the Saints selections without their name on it. Speaking of Kelvin Banks, one executive in the NFL said he's awesome. He's Laramie Tunsil, which Laramie Tunsil's made 5 Pro Bowls in the NFL. So that's pretty high praise from one. The scouts thought he was a clear-cut top 10 pick, the story says, but some mock drafts had him in the teens, maybe around 20. But the consensus around the league was that Banks is a really, really good player. An AFC executive spoke about Tyler Shough, said he was a hot name on day 2. Sounds like he would have gone pretty quickly if not for New Orleans. He's got some of what Kellen Moore really likes at the position: intelligence, good makeup, needs to improve his accuracy at the next level. But that's high praise from an AFC executive that's saying, hey, everybody was on this guy on day 2, and the Saints stepped up and made that selection. It's obvious that there's nothing really more important for the New Orleans Saints right now than Tyler Shough's development. That could change 11 months from now. If Shough goes out there and is awful and the Saints go 2-15 because he can't play at this level and you're right back at the top of the draft next year, then the development of Tyler Shough probably takes a backseat to whoever you take next year. But right now, for right here, right now, there's nothing really more important than that. And to get an executive from another conference who clearly scouted Shough and has spoken to people around the league about him to say that he's got exactly what Kellen Moore wants and a lot of the league was thinking right along the same lines of the Saints is at least comforting, if not, it doesn't guarantee anything, but it's suggesting the Saints didn't reach here. And that was really what I was hoping for, because I felt like if you were going to go up at 9 for Jackson Dart or go up at 9 for Shedeur Sanders, like it felt like that's a reach. And you didn't have to reach. It doesn't sound like the Saints did that. It sounds like they took a guy right where he was going to go in the draft, and now you've hitched your wagon to him for the future, however long that is. Could be 1 year, could be 10. Just depends on whether or not it works. And that's the battle that most organizations around the NFL are fighting year in and year out until you're not fighting it, and then you try to win while you're outside of this purgatory that the Saints have found themselves in looking for a quarterback. So there's just some interesting nuggets from ESPN.com. They also talk about Fadil Diggs and some of his characteristics as a team captain at 2 different schools. But that's a late round pick. So If you'd like to read more about it, you certainly can over at ESPN.com. A lot to cover in the first hour here on this Thursday. Talked about LSU's resume as it relates to a top 8 national seed. That story's up at LouisianaSports.net, or you can listen to the top of the show. Luke Johnson chatted about the Saints' defense a little bit earlier. You can catch that at Hunt on Saints, wherever you find your sound. And then Joe Healey, always good enough to give us a little bit of time here on Thursdays talking SEC baseball. Hour 2 is locked and loaded. Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers, in 20 minutes. We'll also talk about Alex Bregman because he is red hot. We'll do that after Sports Center when we come back on a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
You work hard every day to pursue a life you love. You put in the time, and it shows. You're forging ahead, chasing a dream, creating something better for the ones you love. You're building your own life. So why not build your own tractor? With John Deere tractors and attachments for almost any need, the Sunshine team can help you do just that. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Baton Rouge's home for real rock. It's Eagle 98.1. Foo Fighters. Led Zeppelin. AC/DC. Pearl Jam. And the flagship home for LSU sports. Take us anywhere with the Eagle 98.1 app. Eagle 98.1 is the rock station.
Men, age is just a number. Don't let it dictate how you feel. Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness has anti-aging services that can help you look and feel your best. Visit yourgoodwood.com and discover a renewed sense of vitality.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief. Our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
These are the luckiest ice cubes in the world. They could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar. But instead, they've been called upon to cradle and cool a crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Looks like the lucky just got luckier. Dos Equis.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Is Sports Center. I'm Doug Brown. The Carolina Panthers cut outside linebacker Jadeveon Clowney today. The team had been trying to trade Clowney before the draft. Also, Panthers running back Jonathan Brooks will miss the 2025 season after tearing an ACL in Week 14 last December. Only one game in the NBA playoffs tonight. It's Game 2 for the Warriors and Timberwolves in Minneapolis. The Warriors won the first game while losing Steph Curry to a sore hamstring. ESPN's Kendrick Perkins says don't count them out.
The way that they're defending right now and locked in defensively, led by Draymond Green, the anchor, this team is still dangerous. And so when you have a closer like Jimmy Butler and you could spare some time and buy some time, hell yeah, they could still win this series.
Kendrick Perkins on Get Up. An NHL playoff doubleheader tonight on ESPN starting at 7 Eastern. The Capitals host the Hurricanes, who took Game 1, and the Golden Knights host the Oilers, who took Game 1. And the Pirates today fire manager Derek Shelton.
Hey, it's Michelle Smallman, and coming up Friday, yes, the Nuggets have won a title recently, but I'll tell you why another early playoff exit for them would be time to panic. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
A magic beyond anything you could ever imagine.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day.
You really think that's the best idea?
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio, this is Hunt Palmer.
He's quite a piece of work.
Hour 2, Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, working towards the weekend. Fired up to be here. Fast-moving hour number 1. Lots to do in hour number 2. Chris Blair will be along in 15 minutes previewing LSU and Arkansas from the box. Stop me if you've heard this before, but the forecast is not super awesome this weekend. I just want a good weekend. I just want a lot of sunshine, temps around 90. Maybe I can draw a little bit of solace in that I looked at the forecast earlier and it looks like the wind is blowing out of the north a little bit this weekend, which might slow down Arkansas's home run bats. I'm trying to be optimistic about this in the case that the weather's not great, but really the most important thing is getting an Alex Box Stadium that's full and rocking and rolling, and hopefully that is the case over the next 3 days. Chris Blair will be on the call for all of it, and he'll join us here coming up in 15 minutes. I wrote about this briefly at LouisianaSports.net. And trust me, this is not a Cubs segment. I'm just going to mention the Cubs briefly. The Cubs may have made a mistake. That mistake actually has something to do locally at third base for my favorite baseball team. The Cubs have a bit of an issue, and it may have been solved if they could have signed Alex Bregman. Now, I was publicly against the signing of Alex Bregman because he's in his 30s. And he was going to be expensive, and the Cubs had a top prospect that was at that spot. Well, he's since been sent down to the minors, and Alex Bregman is sizzling for the Red Sox.
Tried to tell you, Hunt.
You did. I still don't know that I'm wrong, but it looks bad for me right now in May. Let's just say that. It was going to be a 4 or 5 year deal, so the life of that, there's a little bit more sample size to get to here. But Alex Bregman is crushing the ball in Boston. I mean, he played 9 seasons in Houston, and legend is too strong a word for sure in Houston, but his legacy in Houston is cemented. I mean, you're talking about 9 seasons. He made 2 All-Star teams. He won a Silver Slugger at third base. He won a Gold Glove at third base. He was part of 2 World Series championship teams, and it was going to be his time. Houston was kind of, deciding they were going to do a little bit of a reset, which is why the Cubs were able to get Kyle Tucker as an aside. But Bregman was going to look elsewhere, and Boston came a-calling. And my goodness, has he made good on that. He had 3 hits last night, including a home run. And so that lengthened his on-base streak to 19 games, which I know we just watched Derek Carroll go 43 games. You're going on 19 games. It's the big leagues. It's really hard to get on base 19 games in a row. Over that 19-game span, Alex Bregman is hitting .378 with 7 homers, 18 runs driven in, and 20 runs scored in 19 games. He leads the Red Sox right now in batting average, home runs, RBI, on-base percentage, and OPS. And he leads the whole American League in doubles. He is crushing the baseball. And I'm not stunned by this at all, but I just thought that it was likely his best baseball was behind him in Houston. And what you're seeing now is a guy who just clubbed his 200th big league home run and looks like he's got kind of a renaissance of sorts in a new place. And it's just cool. I know Musso on Matt's show every single day does Tigers in the Pros and kind of keeps everybody up to date on what's going on. Unfortunately, Skeens got beat by the Cardinals the other day, actually in the start after the Cubs knocked him around a little bit, so he's kind of finding his way. I know it was a really tough start to the season for Dylan Cruz, who was statistically the worst hitter in Major League Baseball for almost a month, but he's kind of come out of it a little bit, as you knew that he would. And that reminded me of Alex Bregman early in his career, right when he got called up. He couldn't get a hit. He could not get a hit. And eventually you settle in, and water finds its level, and great hitters hit. And Alex Bregman has now done that for going on 10 years. And it's just cool to watch him have that kind of success when we start to look at comparing him to LSU greats in Major League Baseball. I know there's a fractured relationship, probably irreparably. I mean, I've never seen Albert Bell, Joey Bell at the time, involved at LSU at all. I may be missing something, but that would be the guy in the big league level that has had the greatest career, but he didn't finish his college career here and is kind of a footnote at this point and not necessarily a presence. You look at a guy like Todd Walker, who had, I just did it back. Did you hear that?
A guy.
I immediately heard it, but it just drives me nuts when it happens.
You can't help it. It's ingrained in your mind.
I don't do it very often. When I do it, I'm going to catch it. But you look at Todd Walker, not a guy like Todd Walker. Just look at the actual Todd Walker, who had a great career as kind of a second baseman who bounced around and was a solid average hitter. You look at some pitchers in the 90s that had good runs, Paul Bird, Chad O.J., Mike Sorotka, those guys. You look at the modern time, and you look at what Aaron Nola has done, which has been very, very good in Philadelphia. And there have been others, clearly. But Bregman at this point, I think, is positioning himself to have as good a major league career when it comes to numbers, longevity, and accomplishments as anybody maybe outside of Albert Bell. And for him to be still very much linked to LSU, it was easier when he was right down the road in Houston, but now, up in Boston a little bit further away. But he doesn't look like he's slowing down at all, and he's in a really good park to hit in. He's showing right now that he's as good a hitter as there is in the American League. I know there are plenty of guys that most executives would take over him, but just looking at the pure numbers, he's been phenomenal, and it doesn't look like he's trying to slow down. If he's got 4 more really good years in him until he's 34, 35 years old, you're talking about a guy who can stack up with anybody in terms of LSU. And I've got a tweet that I sent out when Dylan Cruz was a freshman that said he was going to hit 300 major league home runs. That's ambitious. It's really hard to hit 300 home runs. Bregman has been a great hitter for almost a decade. He's in his 10th year, and he's got 200 now. So you figure if he can hit 20 home runs for 5 years, he'll get there. But that's hard to do. 300 is a lot. And the question I kind of find myself asking is, who would I bet on as far as a big league career? Dylan Cruz with all that in front of him, or Alex Bregman with all that behind him? Like DJ LeMahieu's had an awesome go of it, batting titles, been phenomenal. But I wonder, what MLB career would I bet on now? Because I've been outspoken. When I watched those guys on the field at the box, I thought Cruz was a far superior college player. He hit for more power. He hit for a far higher average. I thought he ran better. I thought he was a way better player. For me, Dylan Cruz is the best position player I've ever seen at LSU. Bregman was great, and it showed. He was the second pick in the draft, but he's paid it off in the big leagues in a big way. And Cruz is in his infancy, and I'm just curious, who LSU fans, knowing what we know today, whose big league career would you bet on at this point? Understanding they're in different places, and that's the point of the discussion. Would you take Dylan Cruz with the upside and all those years in front of him? Or would you take Bregman with a decade behind him, still playing great right after his 30th birthday, and hoping he can build on that? I think it's a fascinating deal. I'm somebody that, generally speaking, bets on what I know as opposed to betting on taking the risk. That's just how my personality is generally wired. So I'd probably take Alex Bregman, let him finish the next 5, 6, 7 years, however many they are, and let that stand up and see what Cruz can go do. But I certainly wouldn't bat an eye if someone told me that I had to take Dylan Cruz and just see what the next 15 years holds. Either way, they're two phenomenal ambassadors for LSU baseball. They were number 2 picks in the draft, and I hope that Cruz and Skeens have similar meteoric rises and kind of become some of the faces of the sport. I know that Skeens is kind of already there. He started the All-Star game. He was the betting favorite to be the NL Cy Young Award winner before they threw a pitch this year. Cruz has a lot of work to do to get there, but those guys are in their infancy. Alex Bregman is beyond the midway point of his career, I would say, certainly. And so it's great to see him continuing to swing the bat as well. It's probably tough because I know there are a lot of you listening right now that are Astros fans that so enjoyed having him on your team once again at the professional level, and that's such a cool thing. And to have him move on, like, that stings a little bit, I'm sure. But there's also got to be a little bit of you that's got some purple and gold. That's like, man, I'm glad he's still swinging the bat well. And to get on base 19 straight games, to lead the AL in doubles, to lead the Red Sox in average, home runs, RBI, on base, and OPS. That's phenomenal stuff from Alex Bregman, who just continues to hit wherever he goes. It's really cool to watch. So shout out to Alex Bregman and to Dylan Cruz and Paul Skeens and DJ LeMahieu and all the Tigers who are still playing in Major League Baseball. All right, Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers. We'll talk some more baseball with him when we come back. It is a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is that website. Man, Jonathan Carbo and his team are phenomenal to work with. I tell this story at least once a week because I think it's the simplest way to describe what the Highland Insurance Group does for their clients. They had a prospective client who was with another brokerage who had 5 locations, business with 5 different locations. And that 5-location business was covered under one general liability policy with a $1 million limit on it. And so what the Highland Insurance Group did was they took that and they said, we got 5 locations. We can put $1 million on each location and we can keep that premium pretty much flat. It's just a tweak that simple that could make a huge difference. That's $5 million of coverage instead of 1, and the price doesn't change. If you don't have someone putting a second set of eyeballs on your insurance program, are you doing it right? Do you not trust your insurance broker? You should trust your insurance broker like you trust your attorney, like you trust your CPA. You divulge all the information to them, and you trust them to help you when you need it. If you just look at the premium at renewal time and go, all right, that's good, maybe you need another set of eyeballs. The Highland Insurance Group, Jonathan Carver and his team are happy to help you with that. You can find them online at HighlandIG.com. They're right here in Baton Rouge, can help you out statewide, wherever you may be. It's the Highland Insurance Group. Find them online at HighlandIG.com.
It's not just a game, it's a religion. You've got your team colors, team swag, and now your very own website. LouisianaSports.net. Everything LSU, Saints, and Pelicans. Sports on demand. In-depth coverage by sports writing pros with continuously updated news. And with the LouisianaSports.net newsletter, you get pinged directly with top trending stories. Best of all, now and always, no paywall. It's free. LouisianaSports.net. Powered by 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Your home for Louisiana sports.
ED, low T, or simply seeking to optimize your health and performance? Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness offers a range of discreet services to address your specific needs. We empower men to reclaim their health and confidence. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief: our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
Chugging along here, Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Beef. LSU in Arkansas tomorrow, hopefully on time. Saturday, hopefully on time. Sunday, hopefully on time. It's been a bit of an issue for the Tigers this year, and Chris Blair's basically been there for all of it. He joins us on Thursdays on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Does so now. Chris, how are you?
I'm good, man. I'm just hoping, this Louisiana, South Louisiana weather where you think something's going to happen and then something totally different happens. I'm hoping that's what's happening tomorrow.
It's been rough. It just hadn't seemingly been like just a clean weekend in quite some time. Hopefully that is the case this weekend. Wasn't the case last weekend. Had to play a doubleheader over the weekend in College Station. It was very hotly contested series, and A&M had the one big swing, but Anthony Ianson was the story for LSU. What did that look like in person?
Yeah, I mean, I think, it was kind of a head scratcher, throughout the weekend offensively for LSU. And again, I have to remind myself, and I think it's needed to remind everybody that, consistency over a long regular season, LSU's had that. I mean, you just look at their numbers statistically and offensively, it's not a team that you're worried about. Having said that, I don't think Texas A&M, again, they played well. Their pitchers, Ryan Prager, I thought, was phenomenal. His numbers backed it up in game one on Saturday. But, these guys, they aren't the best pitchers LSU has faced this year. I think that's fair to say. And there just seemed to be a struggle. Again, the runners with scoring position, getting runners on at times, just getting guys aboard, was a struggle. And, again, over the consistency of the season, I don't think, LSU's offense has trouble. It's just this is another weekend coming up where, much like last weekend, you've got a team where I just don't think 2, 3, and 4 runs a game is going to get it done.
No, I'm right there with you, and that's up to Kate Anderson and Anthony Ianson to keep things close, and they appear to be as good a 1-2 punch as there is in the country. We had Joe Healey from D1 Baseball on in the first hour, and he said, I don't know of any 1-2 I would take in America outside of Anderson and Ianson. How do you feel about that?
Oh, no, absolutely. I mean, that's the only reason I think you had shots to win this past weekend. Just the way they pitch. Ianson was incredible. The early part of the season, I think you and I talked about it a couple of times here on the show, is the MO on Anthony was he's a guy that's going to have a little bit of struggle early on, maybe give up a run or two, a couple of hits, and then he kind of settles in and then gets stronger as the outing goes. Well, I just think that's the way his season has gone. I can remember vividly on Saturday night, 8th inning, 9th inning, there were fastballs still clocking in at 96 miles an hour, and he was at or above the century mark. And so it was an incredible feat, to say the very least. And Kate Anderson has had a couple of games, of tough luck where I think he has pitched well enough, certainly well enough for his team to win. And I think you're exactly right, and I think he was right. That's a very good 1-2 punch in not only SEC play, but as you move forward into the postseason.
A little bit of a hidden storyline from College Station to me was Maverick Rizzi going out there in a game LSU ultimately lost, but really showing something. And you were there in person. Is that something that we can see built on over the next couple of weeks?
Oh, without question. Jay and I talked about it on Sunday, and that was kind of the thing that he took away. Not only Anthony's performance in Game 2, but the fact that, hey, I know we didn't win Game 1, but let's give credit to Maverick Rizzi, who I think is continuing to get much better. And, I'll say this, Hunt. I think over the last couple of weekends, again, you haven't won every game, but I'm not so sure that I'm as worried about the LSU bullpen as maybe I was a month ago. I think they've made incremental steps, and there's a number of guys who have done that. And again, it'd be nice to be able to count on 3 or 4 guys out of the pen if you have to go to them early that, yeah, this guy can give you 3 innings, this guy can give you 4 innings. Yeah, that's in a perfect world. But I think the way LSU has handled their bullpen, and each of those guys, when they're called upon, as we saw over this past weekend, to come in and get an out in a certain matchup, maybe go an inning and a third, whatever that case may be, I think the bullpen's done a pretty good job. And I hate to keep harping on the offense, but in this league, especially when you're taking on the upper echelon teams, when we got up 2-0, and they cut it to 2-1 very quickly, they answered in the bottom half of that frame. It's like the old saying goes, you kind of felt like you got to score more than 2 to win this game. So let's not lose hope here in the 5th inning. I just think the bullpen in Mavericks, one of those. I think Jacob Myers, who we haven't seen a ton of here lately, is another guy who's made step forwards. I think Cooper Williams. I mean, the list goes on and on. I think the arms are in there. If LSU's offense comes to life, they've got arms that can win them baseball games.
What was the ballpark playing like in College Station? It sounded like from the television broadcast that I caught at times, they were saying the wind was kind of holding some balls up. I know that Chris Stanfield overran a ball in center field in the first game of that series. And that because I wasn't in Norman to see how bad those hitting conditions were. I wasn't in College Station to see that. I know that Austin plays big, because there's such a huge disparity in LSU's offense at the box, which we know is pretty hitter-friendly, and what they've done on the road. Is that just coincidence? Is there a weather component to it? How do you see it?
Well, I mean, I think the winds at Bluebell Park, especially this past weekend, they were swirling. I mean, you'd look out one pitch and the wind would be blowing out the Kyle Field. So the next pitch, you look up and it was blowing in. And then it would be blowing left, it'd be blowing right. So there were a lot of swirling winds. And there were a lot of fly balls that went up in the air that, frankly, off the bat looked like, based on the dimensions of that place, were well on their way out of there. And they weren't. So, yeah, I think that had a little impact to do with it. But again, I don't – I agree with you. I read your article earlier in the week, and that is one thing that certainly stands out is the offensive ability on the road versus at home, which, again, as you say, is a friendly hitter's park, just based the way it sits and the way the wind is most of the time. I think at A&M you got a little bit of issue because you got a massive university building in left field that towers over the fence. You got Kyle Field and their new football enhancement center or wellness center, whatever they call it. I mean, I think you're subject to the winds changing a lot because you're kind of shoehorned in there.
Yeah.
But when you look at where LSU goes, I mean, let's face it, Alec Box is one of the more expansive parks in the SEC. There are a lot of smaller ballparks with smaller dimensions, and for some reason, I don't think wind is the only reason LSU is struggling for extra base hits and obviously home run.
We'll see. They're at home this weekend for sure. I'm curious how you think Jay feels about his team right now. You talk to him on the road. You talk to him on the coaches' shows on Monday nights. It's no season has kind of been the same. The first year they were fighting to see if they could get on that host line. The second year was that juggernaut team. Last year they were fighting to try to get in the field, and this year you're kind of flirting with that top 8. I'm curious how you think he's feeling at this point.
I think he's got a lot of confidence in this team. And again, that's because we talk a lot in totality, Hunt. I mean, it's very easy, and I'm as guilty as anybody. I'll be the first to admit it, that you take a single game or a single series and you're like, we did not play well in this department or that department. We got an issue there. Where I think Jay and the coaching staff, and I think really this team, I think he constantly, at least he tells us on the show every week, he constantly reminds this team of what they've been able to achieve, what they need to count on, the experiences, that they have in these type of games that have won them damn near 40 games, which I think that's going to happen here this weekend. So I don't think there's well, put it this way, and I've said this for 3 solid years now, you will not find a panic button in the baseball operation building anywhere. So he's got a lot of confidence in this team. Would they love to win every game? Absolutely. Are they going to be able to win every game? No. But there's enough in there. Like you take a guy like Stephen Milam. We all know that Stephen has scuffled a little bit at the plate. He's too dang good at shortstop. So that's why he's going to be in there every game. But we also know what he can do. And this has been kind of a rough patch for him. And I don't mean to single Stephen out. I'm a huge fan. But I think the thought process is we know what's there. There's enough of a sample size to know this is kind of one of those valleys. And the truth be told, you can pick Milam, you can pick anybody else you want. And there's been peaks and valleys, but I think in 2025, there are way more peaks than valleys. And that's why I think there's a lot of confidence for this team. And they're looking forward to taking on what I think is maybe the best playing team in the country right now in Arkansas starting tomorrow.
Yeah, no doubt. And we've seen so many LSU teams flip a switch in May and just get white hot. I mean, the 2023 team wasn't playing very well at this point. They had just lost to Auburn and Mississippi State, and then all of a sudden they figured something out in the regional. And as Jay said, the Yankees wouldn't have beat him at that point. Now, this team didn't have the high-end talent that one did, but it's probably a little bit deeper. I'm just curious to see if that light switch comes on against a really good team coming up. Last thing here, your impressions of Kason Evans as a starter back on Sunday. Didn't get really hit, but the command didn't look to be quite as sharp.
Yeah, he wasn't as dialed in as we saw him, obviously, in the first game against Tennessee. But, again, it's one of those deals where I'm not real concerned about that. I mean, I think he's got the stuff. He's a superstar already. He certainly was a superstar in the making when he decided to come get the college experience at LSU, and we're all going to be lucky that we get to watch him for a couple of years. So I think he'll be just fine. I talked to Jay earlier this morning, and we talked about the fact that for his team, the message for the Tigers is we've got to go do what we do. We've got to maximize all of our talent, all of our experience, because Arkansas is a team that really doesn't have a lot of flaws. They lead the SEC in fielding at 983. They're right there at the top in all offensive statistical categories. A lot of people thought early on in the year it was going to be their pitching staff that had to carry them, so we know what they got there. So the message for LSU starting tomorrow is they're not going to give us anything. So we got to go out and do what we do best, and we think we're the better team, and we think we're the better team at the box. So Arkansas says we got to go through them. Let's go through them.
We'll see what they can do starting on on Friday night, I should say. How many more coaches shows? 1, 2 left on Mondays?
We got one more, and then we head to Carolina, and then we're going straight from Carolina to beautiful Hoover, Alabama.
I saw a picture of the field. Herb Vincent sent it out today, so field looks ready to rock, and they'll be playing on it a lot over the course of the next 2 weeks from now over at the SEC tournament. So we'll see you this weekend, Chris. Thanks, man.
You got it. Real quickly, I got a question for you.
Yes.
You like the new format?
I think it's fine as far as the baseball goes. I think it's bad for the fans because you can make the trip over there and you can be done in 3 hours. That's a problem.
That's why I was interested in seeing that tweet go out, and of course we all love her. I thought, you got to give something to these fans to get them over there now, because now when they can't rely on going for 3 or 4 days, how many are going to go? It'll be interesting to see what attendance looks like.
It will, but we'll see you at the box this weekend.
You got it. Chris
Blair, voice of the Tigers. Look, I'm okay with single elimination. I'm okay with the double buys for the top 4 seeds. I think all of that is just fine. I'm never one that thinks that the SEC tournament is massive for teams when it comes to how they're playing entering the postseason. Certainly, you can enhance your resume there. But look, we've talked about this a bunch. Mississippi State, I guess that was like 4 years ago now, just got absolutely annihilated in SEC tournament, and they went on to win the national championship. Ole Miss felt like they had to go win a game there to get in the NCAA tournament 3 years ago. They got beat, sat at home all week, and then went and won the national championship. LSU played garbage baseball in 2023 when they went there. Arkansas beat them, and they just didn't play very well at all. Went home and then just were hotter than a pistol when they came back for the regional and the super. It just doesn't matter that much. Now, Tennessee won the tournament last year and then went and won the national championship. So you can play well there and go on and do things that are great. LSU won the tournament. I think it was 2010 they won it. 2010. They went and won it, went out to UCLA and won One game. So it's not. I don't think it's that big a deal. But if you're talking about fans who love that trip, LSU fans have made that trip for decades and love it, and I love that. I love turning that on, whether it's 9 in the morning or 1 in the morning, and seeing a ton of LSU fans at the Hoover Met. But that experience is going to be compromised a little bit when you can't guarantee that your team's going to be there very long. And I know that they had single elimination on Tuesday, which brought that variable in. But if you won on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you were guaranteed double elimination, so you could at least go and see 2 baseball games. Now that part is gone. So that was the doing of the coaches, I'm sure, because they want an opportunity to play for their lives instead of sit back and wait. I know that that's the case because LSU got left out of the NCAA tournament in 2012 because they finished 9th in the SEC. That didn't get them into the top 8 to go play in Hoover in a full double elimination format, and they didn't get in. And so the coach was like, well, we need to let 10 teams in and then play single elimination on the front end so that you can play for your life. And that's why they're doing it, so the coaches have an opportunity to go play. But for the fans, it's not ideal because you can be done really, really quick. So those are my thoughts on the new SEC tournament in baseball. All right, Thursday show is brought to you by Sagrera Farms. We'll come back. We got 30 minutes to go. Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is that website. I know a lot of folks don't love going to the dealership. There's a stereotype there for a reason. You get there, you get swarmed by salespeople, and you feel like you're not being told the truth, maybe upsold, trying to up that commission, and it's just not a comfortable deal. And that stereotype exists for a reason. I can promise you this. If you go to Genesis of Baton Rouge, you will not feel like that. You will feel like a guest. Their brand ambassadors will treat you as such. You will be shot straight, and you will be given a great experience in getting behind the wheel of a Genesis, whether it's sedan, an SUV, whether it's the entry level, all the way up to the highest end. Your service is going to be, and your experience is going to be the exact same. It's going to be great. It's an incredible facility they've got there. Service aisle. I've been through a lot of service aisles in my day from the insurance world. A lot of them not real pleasant. This one's as clean as I've ever seen. The lounge area that's right there has got an incredible coffee machine, all the snacks you could want. It's a comfortable place to sit down. And then they got great inventory as well. Get behind the wheel. Check it out. You may not have considered Genesis because they're fairly new to the game. Do so the next time you're in the market for a vehicle. Tell them the Hunt Palmer Show sent you over there. They're at Airline and Pico across from Women's Hospital, or online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Man, age is just a number. Don't let it dictate how you feel. Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness has anti-aging services that can help you look and feel your best. Visit yourgoodwood.com and discover a renewed sense of vitality.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, Our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
At Luba Workers Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief. Our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
I do believe it's going to be a grilled chicken night in the Palmer household. That's been predetermined.
Why do you say that?
Because that's all we have left in the fridge.
Okay.
We have to go the grocery run, and when that's all that's left, that's what you're having for dinner.
Yeah.
However, as a point of just out of principle, I prefer beef. And if you're going to go with beef, Sagrera Farms beef is where it is at. If you're going, what is Sagrera Farms? Brand new sponsor here on Thursdays. And this is a gym just outside Baton Rouge. I love talking to Sean Sagrera because he's so passionate about what they're doing at Sagrera Farms. It's a 3-year journey to create the finest beef that you're going to find. It's in the top 1% in the world. It's right outside Baton Rouge. They're working right now at Sagrera Farms on 2029 product. And the beauty of this is it's not like just going down to the local shop that you usually go to grab your beef. That's certainly what most people do. Most people haven't had this type of experience. Go to the farm and check out the incredible beef that Sagrera Farms has. And this is not an assumption. They're not guessing that it's good. It's proven fact by ultrasound that their intramuscular fat scores on these cows are astronomically high. 4% is under 4% is select, 4% to 8% is choice, 9% is prime. That's prime Angus beef. That's the good stuff. You're talking about cows that they've got at Sagrera Farms at 12, 14, 17%. This is the best of the best. And it's right here outside Baton Rouge. If you're thinking, that's what I need to get my hands on, go up to Sagrera Farms and take a look. You can look at the product and decide what you're taking home. They sell half cows. They sell whole cows. You put them in the freezer. We want you to give Sean a call. 719-1723. It's Sean Sagrera, 719-1723. Go up to Sagrera Farms, load your freezer up with the finest beef, ribeyes, fillets, ground beef for burgers, tacos, whatever the case may be. Flank steaks, strips. They got it all at Sagrera Farms, and you can have it. Incredible, incredible stuff. Some of the best beef in the world right outside of Baton Rouge, and it's at Sagrera Farms. Proud Thursday sponsor of the Hunt Palmer Show. This is always a fun thing to get to here. ESPN, specifically Mark Schlabach, put out a story earlier today with the post-spring, way too early top 25. That's where we are. That's where we are on the calendar. And I like to take a peek. You know, it's not the gospel here on the day that they've named a new pope in the Catholic Church. It's just something to chew on and talk about a little bit. And I was first interested of who he had number one. We'll get to LSU in a second. But Penn State, number one for Mark Schlabach. Drew Allar coming back. Katron Allen coming back. Nick Singleton coming back. Got brand new defensive coordinator they took from Ohio State. Jim Knowles is really good. He's got Penn State at number one. LSU, interestingly enough, comes in at number 6 in this ranking. LSU was 6 before the spring as well. You look at the key returners. Of course, you know those names: Garrett Nussmeier, Caden Durham, Aaron Anderson, Whit Weeks, Ashton Stamps, Harold Perkins, Jordan Gilbert. And then you go to the key transfer portal additions, and it takes up like the entire page. It's a massive list because LSU went hard after this transfer portal deal. Patrick Payton, Jack Pyburn, Nick Anderson, Berrien Brown, Braylon Moore, Josh Thompson, Mansour Delane, A.J. Halsey, Bernard Gooden, Tamarcus Cooley. You got it. I mean, they got a lot of guys in the transfer portal. But Schlabach's outlook says there's no reason the Tigers shouldn't be in the thick of the SEC title race and college football playoff race. Brian Kelly added 18 players from the transfer portal, including several plug-and-play starters. The latest addition, Halsey, was an all-Big 12 performer in 2024. The Tigers were already returning the SEC's most productive quarterback in Nussmeier and a deep receiver core that only improved with Berrien Brown and Nick Anderson. Braylon Moore and Josh Thompson should shore up an offensive line that lost 4 starters. Halsey joins a secondary that already added Delane and Cooley. Peyton and Pyburn, big-time additions on the edge, and Gooden filled a much-needed role on the interior of the defensive line. The Tigers are going to score a ton of points in 2025. They got to stop somebody far better than they did last year when they ranked 14th in the SEC in scoring defense. And I think you're going to look at this ranking of LSU, and LSU's, generally speaking, going to come in between 4 and 8 by just about everybody. It's not as easy to do these preseason rankings as it once was, when you could really look at what teams had coming back and the only way to fill holes was with freshmen and sophomores. That was a pretty easy way to say, well, you got a lot coming back, or you couldn't add juniors and seniors 10 years ago. Now you can, and LSU did it by the truckload. But what LSU would have been given credit for 8 years ago and are certainly being given credit for now is the fact that Garrett Nussmeier is taking the snaps for LSU. And I think that LSU is going to be a trendy pick in SEC Media Days in July. And I think LSU is going to be a hot team that people are talking about in August when we kick this thing off at Labor Day. I think that's a fair ranking for LSU at 6. I know that a lot of people, when they listen to me, think that I am a pessimist when it comes to football, think that I'm a nega-tiger. I was called Baton Rouge's Eeyore at one point, which became my fantasy football team because I really appreciated that moniker. But I just tell you what I think. And I thought that LSU was going to lose to Florida State to open the season 2 years ago. I thought they would beat USC last year, but I did think there were some issues on the defense. And when I watched that team in spring and then certainly in fall camp, I was like, I just don't know if there's enough proven dudes on this defense. And I do look at LSU's defense right now, and I think there are enough proven dudes. It's not going to look like 2011. It's not going to look like 2019. Certainly not going to look like 2003 or any of those juggernauts. But I think there are enough really solid players with a good coaching staff to be a better defense than Ed Schlabach writes here in this story. 14th in the SEC in scoring defense at 24 points per game. Got to be better than that. Now, the other piece to this that I'm always going to look at in these preseason deals, whether it's Schlabach on ESPN or a Yahoo piece or the Phil Steele magazine when it comes out, or Athlon Sports, or whoever's putting out a preseason prognostication, I'm going to go to LSU first, obviously. But the second place I'm always going to go is Clemson, because that's where you start. And Mark Schlabach thinks a lot of Clemson. They're number 2 in his preseason rankings. Klubnik at quarterback, and then a bunch of guys that you've probably never heard of as LSU fans, but you're looking at 8 guys he's got listed as key returning players. And interestingly enough, finally, on the key portal additions part of this, Clemson does have 3 names here. Will Helt, who I really thought LSU should make a run at defensive end right when the portal opened, because I thought they needed to add depth on the ends, especially after Womack left. Helt from Purdue ended up at Clemson. And then you got Jeremiah Alexander, who transfers over at linebacker from Alabama, and then Tristan Smith, who's a wide receiver from Southeast Missouri State. But Schlabach writes about Clemson, much like Penn State, Clemson's offense is stacked and has a talented quarterback, deep receiving core, and experienced offensive line. The Tigers don't have a 2-player attack at tailback that remains their biggest concern after practice. Last year's leading rusher, Phil Maffa, departed for the NFL, and top backup Jay Haynes tore an ACL in the ACC championship game. They've got great wide receiver in Adam Randall. Freshman David, no chance I can say that right, Eziomi? I can't say that. No chance I can say that. Apparently, he's a good freshman, and Gideon Davis might get significant carries at running back. Davidson was the number 3 running back in the class, according to ESPN. Clemson coach Dabo Swinney also made a big move to shore up his defense, which ranked next to last in the ACC in stopping the run in 2024, luring defensive coordinator Tom Allen away from Penn State. Helt, who we talked about at the top from Purdue, 5 sacks last year, very important player on the best defensive line in the FBS. One thing that stands out there is that Clemson really struggled to stop the run last year. Well, LSU really struggled to run the ball last year. So that's kind of the movable object against the stoppable force, right? something's got to give there. Hopefully, it's LSU's running game in that first game. But according to Schlaball, that's number 6 versus number 2 in the opener for LSU and Clemson. That's a pretty big deal. I know that Ohio State and Texas are going to draw a ton of eyeballs. And in Schlaball's initial ranking, he's got Texas number 3 and Ohio State number 5. So that's 8 total. LSU and Clemson 2 and 6, 8 total. Those are the biggest shows in town on Labor Day weekend, and should be quite a spectacle. Hopefully LSU can go out there and play better than they have in the last 5 openers. That's the hope, at least. That's your way too early top 25, according to Mark Schlaball. Step aside, come back and close it out. Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. You don't have to make this renovation a massive project. Like, you can. David Duvall and his team can put in brand new vanities with all your drawers, all your shelves, mirrors, lights, the whole deal. They can do that in your bathroom. They can put in a tub with that and do a shower renovation. They can do the whole meal deal, I promise. But it doesn't have to be that. When I say that, you're probably thinking dollar signs, you're probably thinking time, invasiveness, can I stay in my house? Like, I get that. You don't have to do that. What about a tub to shower conversion? That's quick, it's cost effective, and it can totally change the functionality and look of your bathroom. You spend a lot of time in there. Make it look good. Make it look functional. Make it be functional. You can take one of those big 90s style jacuzzi tubs that you never use out and put a glass walk-in shower in that space that better uses it. It's more functional. David Duvall and his team are happy to do that for you. Start that process with a free consultation. That doesn't cost you anything. To go to onebathandclosets.com and start that process with David Duvall. They've got financing options available. They're going to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. It's David Duvall and One Bath and Closets. You can find them online at onebathandclosets.com.
These are the luckiest ice cubes in the world. They could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar. But instead, they've been called upon to cradle and cool a crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Looks like the lucky just got luckier. Dos Equis.
ED, low T, or simply seeking to optimize your health and performance? Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness offers a range of discreet services to address your specific needs. We empower men to reclaim their health and confidence. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief. Our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
.104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge Spring Cha-Ching, powered by Citizens Bank and Trust, is back. Register today at 1045ESPN.com for your chance to win $5,000 in cash. It's Spring Cha-Ching from Citizens Bank and Trust and 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, let's wrap things up here on this Thursday. We're brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Beef. Again, if you've heard me talking about it on the show and you're thinking, I'd really like to get involved, get some of that beef in the freezer at home. Sean Sagrera, 719-1723. Again, 719-1723. It's Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. Big show tomorrow. I'm going to preview LSU in Arkansas. I hope to have Andrew Hutchison on from Best of Northwest Arkansas Sports. Always enjoy our conversations talking Hogs and Tigers with Andrew. I'll certainly give you my thoughts on LSU and Arkansas tomorrow, and talk some football with Preston Guy as well. So loads to do tomorrow, getting ready for just such a monster series at the box. If you're thinking about LSU as far as the top 8 seed goes, I gave you my thoughts on it at the top of the show today. We only have one order of business left on this Thursday, and that's take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
Just take it. All right, first one here. The Cubs are going to win the World Series. Take it or leave it.
We have to take that.
I'll take it.
We got Kyle Tucker and God.
That's what
we
I'm
got
saying.
The Pope.
Yes.
So, the Pope, if you missed this, there's a new Pope. He's from Chicago. He likes the Cubs. This essentially is a death sentence for the rest of Major League Baseball.
Yep.
Because now we've got divine intervention on our hands, and there's really nothing you can do about that. So it's been a while. It's the first American Pope ever, I believe.
It is.
So clearly going to be a Cubs fan. He overcame an upbringing on the south side of Chicago where the White Sox were right there for him to fall there. But as you would expect from someone in that position, he clearly chose good over evil, as you would imagine. And this is great news for the Cubs. I don't see a way. If you're a gambling person, I would wager everything you got on the Cubs against the Mets tonight, because we now have the entire Catholic Church just hammering away at the rest of the league.
The odds are probably not even, if you want to go bet on the Cubs to win the World Series, the odds are probably decent for that right now, so go ahead and do that.
Can he heal Justin Steele's elbow?
That is, I wonder if maybe we can get some prayers from him. Maybe for Justin Steele.
They got
maybe
holy
Shota
water,
as well.
some sort of something that's going on. We got, Shota's hamstring. We got to get that taken
Javier
care of.
Assad as well. Still having
Assad's got
problems.
the oblique. We got some medical work that needs to be done from divine intervention from the Pope. So as soon as he's done with whatever's going on in Vatican City, I'm sure they got something going on currently. I'm not up to date on all the the things that go on after you're named Pope, but get him to the north side. Actually, we're in New York right now as well, so we got to get him stateside. We got some work to do.
Yeah, and funnily enough, too, he's a Cubs fan. Also, of course, should be a staunch opposition of the Cardinals, which is
that is correct. He's no longer a Cardinal. What a transformation! That's probably the biggest story here. He's no longer a Cardinal.
It is
now the Pope, and truly can show his Cubs' true colors.
All right, next one here, Hunt. I know you haven't probably been watching a lot of the NBA playoffs, but the Knicks.
I saw what happened.
Celtics again last night, 91-90. They got a 2-game lead over the Celtics, who a lot of people pegged or thought that they would be making a run to the finals again. But the Knicks making it to the Eastern Conference Finals. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it.
I'll take it.
They got to get basically one at the Garden. That's very doable. I will watch some of that because I need Madison Square Garden believing the Knicks can win the whole thing.
Yes,
that hasn't happened since my childhood. So that's a scene that the NBA needs badly. I'm in for it. Also involved in that series, Paul Pierce said after Game 1 that he would walk to work in his bare feet and robe, which is like 14 miles. He videoed himself, and I use air quotes, walking to work. There may have been a car involved, I'm thinking, at some point here or there. But he definitely did go out there in a robe and bare feet and walk around a little bit. So tough go for Paul Pierce at this point.
All right, last one here. The SEC's Black Friday matchups are set.
Yeah.
The Egg Bowl will be played at 11 a.m. Texas and Texas A&M will play at 6:30. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave it.
Leave it alone. That stinks.
I will watch them, and I'm excited to watch both of them. I need the Egg Bowl on Thursday night. I do not care about the Jets and Panthers or whoever they're putting on my TV on Thursday night. I'm not watching the Steelers play the Seahawks, I need to eat my chocolate pie, have my leftover turkey sandwich, and watch the Egg Bowl on Thanksgiving. And this has been taken away from me by the money-hungry, power-hungry NFL. It has to be stopped. There are some things you cannot infringe on. You want to go play in Germany, I'll live with it. You want to go do the draft somewhere and wherever they're doing it, the National Mall, whatever. You want to play on Thursdays, I'll give you that. Not this Thursday. Thanksgiving is for the Egg Bowl.
It is. I agree.
Now they got them parked on Friday morning.
11 a.m.
Oh, well. Think Coach Levy's going to win any games this year?
Maybe a few.
Got to win more than 2, which is what he won last year. We'll see. All right, that's it for a Thursday show brought to you by Sagrera Farms. If you missed any of it, catch it on demand wherever you find your sound. Have a great and safe Thursday evening. I think Musa is going to drive you home. I'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place on Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those